All right, Dave Naylor's been covering the Bills all season. He was at the game at Highmark Stadium. He joins us from the stadium now. First of all, Dave, just watching on TV, the atmosphere seemed electric and possibly like the apocalypse if the apocalypse had snow. Oh, can you just describe the atmosphere in the building this afternoon?
Yeah, it was kind of surreal because, when I walked into the stadium just a little bit before noon, I mean, you could just see, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, just the piles of snow on the seats. And it was clear that the priority here was getting the field clear, making the walkways open for safety, but people just came in and kind of embraced this thing. You could just feel almost a joyous celebration of all things Western New York and snowstorms. And of course, we saw it in the first half when the Bills wrapped up their touchdowns, snow pluming all over 70,000 people here. It was a very unique atmosphere today, especially, I say, in the first half when things were running the Bills' way particularly well.
Yeah, let's talk about when things were running the Bills' way, Dave. 21-0 early lead. We're all thinking this is going to be a blowout. This team knows how to play in the cold conditions. And then it got pretty close, and the Steelers made it interesting. What happened?
Well, attrition. I mean, the Bills just started dropping on defense. Linebacker Balen Spector goes out. Linebacker Terrell Bernard goes out. Corner Christian Benford goes out. They lose also Taron Johnson, their slot corner. I mean, 4 players, starters from this game on defense, and Balen Spector was already subbing for Terrell Dodson, who was injured last week. If you go back to the opening of the Miami game last Sunday night, 8 days ago, there are 5 starters on the Buffalo Bills who did not finish that game. That's almost half the defense, and certainly that made it easier for Pittsburgh to move the ball up and down the field. Of course, the blocked field goal right before halftime put them on a short field, and one of the things you would have said for the Steelers to win this game, they had to win the turnover battle. They didn't. There were 2 turnovers. They both were in the Buffalo Bills' favor, but the Bills really got some unsung heroes or some surprising heroes on defense. A.J. Klein, who played most of this game on linebacker, he was on his couch until Tuesday. He arrived in Buffalo on Wednesday. He was promoted from the practice roster just in the last 48 hours. He was supposed to be with his family on a vacation in Key West, Florida. You look at Kyer Elam, who had the interception in the end zone that the Bills turned into an 80-yard touchdown drive. He was a first-round pick back in 2022, say a year and a half ago. This season, he's been a healthy scratch most of the season. He's been a huge disappointment. He gets pressed into duty, makes one of the biggest plays of the game. So, as much as the attrition on defense allowed the Steelers to get back into the game, and Mason Rudolph did play very well, had his first interception since he's taken over as a starter, it was really the reinforcements for the Bills that kept the Steelers' comeback from coming to fruition.
As much talent is on the offensive side of the ball for this Buffalo Bills team, Dave. They've only scored 30 points once since Week 12. They scored 31 on Monday. So kind of a bit of an offensive explosion in some ways for this team, and that's likely exactly what they'll need next Sunday against the Chiefs, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think you saw what the Bills have been trying to develop on offense, particularly in the second half of the season, come to fruition on this game, Jay. And that is to be able to win a game any sort of way. Play in the elements, frozen field, wind, snow, whatever. Throw the ball, run the ball. You look at the balance today. Josh Allen has 203 yards passing. He wasn't throwing the ball all over the lot. He did have 3 touchdown passes, very efficient with the ball. You have James Cook had over 80 yards rushing. You had Josh Allen had over 70 yards rushing. And, of course, the longest run of his career, the 52-yard touchdown. He was funny after the game when he was asked about it, and he said, he saw a lane, got to about the 20-yard mark, and all he could hear was all his teammates from the sideline screaming for him to slide. So this has been a bit of an issue with Josh Allen taking hits at the end of plays, and he just said, yeah, they called for me to slide, and I didn't. And the next thing you know, he was in the end zone. That was a big play as well. But I think the other thing that the offense did was the way they shortened the game in the second half. With as undermanned as Buffalo's defense was and the efficiency that the Steelers were moving the ball, they managed to shorten the game. And that's something they've done a number of times this year after halftime. They kind of opened the door for Pittsburgh when they had a 3-and-out on their first possession after the halftime. But then there was a field goal drive and a touchdown drive. Those 2 drives combined to take about 13 minutes off the clock. That was key, because if the Bills had sustained any more injuries on defense, I think it really would have been a problem. In the end, Pittsburgh had just 4 possessions in the entire second half, and the final one of those was at the end of the game when it was a 14-point margin and the game was out of reach. So certainly the offense did its job today, both putting up points and managing the style of the game with the clock in the second half.
Well, now they'll get a chance to thaw out, and next Sunday, the Bills and Chiefs meet in the playoffs for the third time in 4 years, but this time it's at Orchard Park. Dave, get inside somewhere, warm up. You deserve it. Get some cocoa. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
Thank you, Jay.